Hi, Bianca. I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. A real pleasure to be able to speak to you today. Thanks so much for taking the time. I guess for people who haven't had a chance to see Paradise is Burning yet, maybe you could just begin with a brief intro. What can people expect when they watch this film?
This film is about three sisters living by themselves because their mother has left them. She vanishes for periods. Yeah, you get to follow these three sisters. It's also a story about growing up, leaving the childhood life behind.
And it's such a sort of beautiful, whimsical kind of slice of life film, really sort of captures that moment of coming of age in this incredible way. I mean, maybe you can just take us back to the genesis of the project for you. How did it all come about? How did you end up coming on board? And what was the appeal for you of taking part in Mika's project?
It's a really amazing story. I was actually found outside a few years ago by Mika's co-writer Alexander Östrand. I was screaming at someone on the phone, and then he really fell for my voice and the energy that I had. So he came up to me and told me a little bit about the script and asked for my phone number so I could come into casting. But unfortunately, he missed a letter, so it was the wrong phone number, and he couldn't get in touch with me for a year. But then, by coincidence, 1 year later, he and Mika were on a walk talking about the movie, and then suddenly she noticed me as well. And yeah, they came up to me, and it took a while, but then I went into casting, and it was about a year long.
And I guess if you've not done something like this before, you know, what were your emotions about sort of taking it on? Was it something that was sort of pure excitement? Did you have trepidation? Was it something you just sort of threw yourself into? How did you feel about taking part in the film?
It felt really amazing. Making this movie has really opened up my eyes for cinema. And I'm a very creative person. I love to create things, and I love acting to create stories. So I was very happy and excited. And I became really good friends with Mika and the cast before we started the shoot. So everything felt very comfortable and natural.
That's going to be my next question, actually, because particularly the dynamic between you and your character sisters, you know, feels effortless. It really sort of feels like it could be a documentary we're watching, you know, and this is really their lives. So was that something that did take a bit of work, a bit of rehearsal time? And what was it like building that amazing connection with those two actresses?
We had a 4-month-long workshop before we started the shoot. So we did multiple activities together, and we also took kind of acting classes with the director. Yeah, and we hanged out a lot. We went swimming together. We did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And so, yeah, by the time we started the shoot, we were already very close, and we actually felt like we really was sisters.
And thinking of, you know, the character of Laura, you know, herself, what was your approach to playing her? I mean, she's got this very particular energy. You know, she is quite mischievous, she's rebellious, but she's having to balance that with, you know, this burden of responsibility of having to look after her sisters. So she can't just completely, you know, throw caution to the wind. And she does have that maternal instinct. She is protective of her sisters. So there's kind of a conflict, an inner conflict there. How did you kind of get into her mindset, and how did you see her?
Mika often spoke about that it's not so much about actually playing a character. It's more about playing different situations, and we focus a lot on each scene. Yeah, I used some own life experiences, which could give me a certain feeling, which I could use when I act. I mean, Laura is in a completely different situation than I am, but I can still find some situations in my life which can remind me of a certain feeling. And then also, Laura is very physical, and she's very physically strong. So before the shoot, I actually had to work out a little bit with Mika's co-writer. I went boxing with him, and I had to run and chase him up through multiple stairs just to get this fight or flight instinct that Laura has. So I guess we worked a lot with body language, and we spoke very much about all the scenes before we were going to shoot. So yeah, Mika could ask me, for instance, what do you think Laura feels when she says this? What do you think her intentions are? So we worked very close together to create this. Yeah.
I was going to ask next about kind of her look and her physicality as well, and even the way that she dresses, because you have the sense that obviously, you know, she's from this working class background. She's probably not got two coins to rub together, but she's got her own style as well, and there's kind of an edge to her. So do you think that all kind of played into the character as well, the way she looks?
Yes, I think that both her haircut and clothing, it's a very great fit for this character, and I think it also creates certain persona or a certain energy, I guess. It was actually a very important thing to me that we had this certain clothing or hairstyles, because it really made me feel more like I was in this character's body.
And to what extent did you feel like you could relate to her? I guess you say, you know, you obviously come from a very different background, but did you find sort of those crossover points, but then sort of on the flip side of that, ways that you would say, you know, really differentiate you from Laura?
Yeah, she's very different from me, I would say. I think she's very tough, and she can be, like I said, very physically strong. Yeah, I guess like the things I found similar is, like I said, I could use my own emotions to play certain scenes.
And I guess the other really key relationship in the film is Laura with Hannah. And, you know, she's someone who is kind of taking on that vacuum of a maternal figure, of a parental figure. But she's also got a mischievous side to her, which Laura's then bringing out. So there's a bit of a push-pull going on there. So what was it like perhaps working alongside her, and particularly knowing, you know, that she's got more of that screen experience behind her? Perhaps she could be a mentor off screen as well.
Yeah, definitely. Me and Ida also worked a little bit together before the shoot. So, for instance, we went to a museum with Mika, and we did a certain, like, some kind of scene in front of these random people, and they didn't know what was going on, obviously. So we got to know each other pretty well before the shoot. And the shoot was a very great plan, because the first 2 weeks I actually shot all the scenes with Ida. So I learned very much from her, which I could later pass on to my younger sisters in the movie.
And in the making of the film, I mean, it looks like obviously this emotionally intense scenes, and, you know, there's sort of like a background of tragedy to their situation, but there's also a lot of humor and playfulness. I don't even like the supermarket scene where the younger ones, you know, pretending to completely have a meltdown. What were some of your favorite moments to film? And on the flip side, was there any scene that you found really challenging to pull off?
I really found all the break-ins pretty interesting to shoot. It was a very odd experience to walk around in someone's house, looking at all the furniture, and it was just a really strange feeling. And I also found those scenes pretty funny. For instance, when the house owner comes home and Laura has to run really fast from him. And also I really liked when Laura was really confident when she was showing Hannah how to break into houses, and she was kind of like challenging Hannah's character, which was pretty fun. And I guess the hardest part about this movie was there was a lot of stunts, but we had a stuntman on the set, and he was really good at teaching us. So it was almost like learning a dance choreography. But it could also be pretty hard at times, because then you have to focus on both acting and also doing stunts at the same time.
And what about working with Mika? I mean, it's pretty impossible to believe that this was her first feature. And I guess sort of the accolades have already come through, you know, from Venice, from London Film Festival as well, sort of acknowledge what an incredible job she's done with the film. Working with her, what was that like? What was the experience like on set with her?
She's a great director. She's absolutely amazing. It was a big pleasure to work with her, always took care of us and always put our well-being at first hand. And I guess some directors might be a little too harsh on the actors because they want to get a certain acting out of them. But Mika's way of directing was extremely good. She really helped me a lot with my performance and really took the best out of me, I would say. And we became very close with her. She worked extremely close with us all the time. She spoke to us a lot about the scenes and how we were feeling that day, if we found anything difficult to shoot. So she always made sure that we were comfortable and confident in our performances.
And in terms of the takeaways from the film, I mean, I think, as we sort of mentioning at the beginning, it seems to balance, you know, showing the challenges for Laura, for her sisters, being in this situation. And you can't help but feel really frustrated with how those around her, just no one seems to want to help her, and how there are these people, particularly who are at the bottom rung of society, who do just kind of fall through the gaps and do get forgotten. But then on the flip side, there's kind of all this joy and whimsy and this sort of this freedom that she has, which feels quite contagious, you know, coming off the screen. So, you know, what do you think people can take away from being inside her world for this film?
I agree with you. It's a very the story is. I mean, it's a sad situation that they're living in. But this movie is, I think it's so much filled with joy also, a lot of energy. And I think it's a really funny movie, actually. There are very funny moments and characters. Yeah, I guess it really describes the title pretty well, that it's like the three sisters are living in a paradise, a carefree world. They're making their own rules and nobody tells them what to do. So I think people will, I think people will appreciate that it's told from a child's perspective. I guess also all the like lightning in the movie. I feel like that's also like watching the world through a child's eyes. It's pretty much filled with the light and very much joyful moments.
And it's really kind of, it's just really capturing something about the female experience, particularly. Like, it does feel like a bit of a love letter to sisterhood, to female friendship. And, you know, in a world of cinema that can still feel very male dominated, having that perspective feels really special as well. And I guess even having, you know, like a female team behind it too, and, you know, central female cast must have really helped with that. So do you think that's something else that makes the film special?
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of female characters. And what I love about this movie so much is that it's portraying the female as a real human being. I think it's great that these characters, they get to take up space in a room where often men dominate a lot in cinema. So I think it's great to show these characters. And I know Mika really wanted to create complex female characters that have both weaknesses but also strengths, different emotions. They can be angry, happy, sad. Yeah, so I think it's great. I think it's really a good portrayal of what it's like to be a human being.
And finally, I guess now you've had a taste of being in front of the camera and, you know, delivered this absolute barnstorming performance. What's next for you? Have you got your sights set on another project? Are you just going to let the dust settle on this one? What's next for you?
I'm trying to stay humble in my success. I definitely would like to continue. I'm keeping in touch with different directors and artists. Yeah, it's great because we traveled a lot with this movie to different festivals. I really love to meet all these new people in the film industry. It's very interesting. So yeah, I really love art, and that's something I really want to do.
And what was the reaction when your family first saw you up on the big screen? It must have been a wonderful moment.
Yeah, they were really proud of me, and maybe it was a bit strange for them at the beginning, because also this is a different person than I am, so it might be weird for them to see me as somebody else. But yes, they were really happy and proud, and they definitely loved this movie. So I was very happy too.
Well, thank you so much. That's my time up. But thank you so much for sharing all that with me, and huge congratulations on the film. And can't wait for everyone else here to be able to see it when it lands in cinemas. Thanks so much.